So yeah, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this talk. It's a real honor, and it's lovely to see well, so many young people interested in, well, sustainability primarily, but second, doing rankings and trying to put pressure and trying to campaign in their own countries and to their own institutions. I think it's fantastic to see. So my presentation today, I'm going to talk about the history of University League, how we got started and how we work a little bit. And I've chosen some of my top tips that I would give anyone who's trying to start a university ranking. But I have many more. I could talk for an hour on this. So I'm going to give my email at the end, but I want you to know that I'm fully available for anyone who is trying to start a ranking. I'll be very willing to help. Yeah, so please don't hesitate to send me a message. But anyway, I'll get to it. So we've got lots of time for questions and things like that. So the People and Planet University League, we run in the UK. We've been running since 2007. Apparently this was a PhD idea. So back in 2007, the conversation around sustainability was about being green, but it was very much focused on individual action. Make sure you recycle, turn the lights off when you leave a room, don't have the tap on when you brush your teeth, things like this. But the person who did this PhD thesis wanted to go a little deeper and get behind what does the planet really need? Is the conversation around sustainability going far enough? So they developed the People and Planet University League initially with 4 criteria of assessment, which were 4 different sections, 4 different ways to assess the sustainability of a university. Over the years, naturally, we have added sections, and we now have 14. So we have quite a broad definition of sustainability because the different criteria of assessment that we use are quite broad. So just to give you an overview of some. So we take environmental data, which is about 45% of our ranking, which is waste. So we look at how much of it is recycled or sent to landfill, for example. We look at water reduction. So we do calculations on how much water per person is being used and if that is being reduced. We look at carbon reduction, which is a very important one. And we also look at energy sources, so where universities are getting their energy from. We look at what percentage of their energy comes from green sources and so on. So we also have, well, I'll talk about ESD, so Education for Sustainable Development. This is probably the core function of a university, isn't it, to educate? So we look at the way that universities are integrating ESD into their curricula, but we also look at the university environment in itself. So for example, we also have sustainable food. We look at the university's procurement of food. We look at the food that's being sold on campus, whether or not they have an accreditation from a sustainable food agency that we have a few of in the UK. But I actually wrote this down during the previous presentation, symbolic and practical, because I thought that, that I really liked your words there. So a lot of our rankings are, a lot of our criteria of assessment, excuse me, are symbolic. Okay, so what we talk about is removing social license. What do we mean by that? Where universities have relationships with the fossil fuel industry, for example, through their investments, many universities have endowments. They have money that they want to invest, and fossil fuel industry for years has been an excellent investment. If you put your money in, you're likely going to make a profit. So it's very safe. Universities have been doing this for years. Another one that we've started approaching more recently is recruitment. So universities also are recruitment pipelines for industries. They create professionals. They create people with skills and knowledge to do jobs. And there are a lot of links between universities and the fossil fuel industry that recruit students. We tried to remove that social license by saying universities should end relationships with the fossil fuel industry. This is, in terms of the fossil fuel industry and all the power it has, probably not very significant, but symbolically it is very powerful. When you have universities who represent knowledge, they represent the intelligentsia of society, when they're saying, no, we no longer want to be part of, no longer want to have associations with the fossil fuel industry, it's symbolically very powerful, and we remove the social license from this industry. In terms of our assessment, we use policy documents that are publicly available. So I always say that the People and Planet University League looks at parts of a university website that probably no one else looks at, which is the quite often fairly long and boring documents related to specific aspects of operations at a university. But we use these as a way of assessment because they are well, publicly available, and also because it promotes transparency if universities state openly and publicly what their policy is. Okay, in the UK, we're very lucky to have the Higher Education Statistics Agency, or HESA, I'll call it from now on. So HESA is a public, well, it's a private entity, but universities are obliged to report certain data to HESA. This is part of their, was a requirement which comes with them being a semi-public organisation. So we're lucky that we have that level of transparency in the UK. Obviously, that will change from country to country, but I would say that's a good place to start, is to find out, you know, especially if you're in a country where universities are public organizations, they probably do have some requirement to report data, such as environmental data. So I would say definitely go and research that. So we have 153 universities in the UK, and we have about 75 questions each section. Sorry, for each university, we have about 75 questions across our 14 assessment criteria. So this is a big job, and it produces a very large data set. Okay, so one of the ways that we've discovered as the best way for us to manage such a large task is to train student researchers every summer. And so the summer is great because students aren't at university. They may have finished their course and they're looking to do some experience before they move into the world of work, and this can be a way for them to get that experience. Also, you know, COVID, this, if we can say, post-COVID world, this post-2020 world where we've turned into Zoomers, where everyone is online. This has been something that we have taken advantage of. Before, we used to do assessment together in a room. We would get volunteers to come and travel to Oxford in the UK, whereas now we're able to allow people to work from wherever they want, and also to be flexible in their timetable. So working online has been something which is really useful for us. We have a long-running relationship with The Guardian, and we also get widespread coverage in UK media. It could be local newspapers, it could be student publications. We've got The Guardian. We also find ourselves in industry magazines, so that whether that's publications related to the higher education industry or related to sustainability in general. We consider ourselves to be influential. So in a survey conducted this January in 2022, 69% of universities said that our ranking has a direct impact on policy making and sustainability at their organisation. So we do have evidence that universities pay attention to our ranking, and they see it as a credible assessment of the sustainability of their organization, and they also aspire to go up the ranking. So I'm going to go into my tips. Excuse me if I'm going too fast, but I want to try and get as much across as possible. So in terms of the assessment methodology that you use in your ranking, you need to be standardized. Okay, so universities are very varied in type. Okay, we have some universities that might specialize in business, some that might specialize in another area, some that might be related to the arts. There might be drama schools or art schools. So you need to try and make sure that all of the questions that you're asking can be applied to all universities. Okay, be objective. So what do I mean by this? So it needs to be some information that that can be that would be identified as the same by two separate parties if needed. Okay, so again, using policy documents are really is a really good way to go. Using publicly available data is really good. I would try and say stay away from opinion. Opinion is subjective, so things like giving students a survey about their opinion of their university would be quite subjective. Okay, so try and stay with the objective as much as possible. Use data that can be publicly verified. This is very important. Okay, I'll explain why. So first of all, check, is there publicly available environmental data in your country? Do you have a HISA, or do you have somewhere where universities need to report their student numbers, or they need to report their energy sources, or they need to report, just try and use publicly available data if possible. If not, ask universities to make this data public in order to be assessed. Okay, so whether that's making their environmental data public, or just for them to have a publicly available policy on a certain area of their operations, I think this really helps. Why is it important then for data to be publicly available? First of all, it means that universities are being more transparent, which is a secondary benefit in itself. It's good that universities are transparent, okay, because it means that, well, it makes your job easier, but it also means that other campaigners who want to know about the operations of a university can also benefit. It also removes the possibility of being accused of bias. Where you ask universities to send you the data, i.e. self-reporting, I'm not saying, I mean, it can work, but there's always the possibility that someone can say, you haven't been consistent in your marking. If everything is behind closed doors and not seen, then there's always that possibility of an accusation. Okay, when it's publicly available, no one can say that we've marked inconsistently because it's publicly available. Also, it means universities cannot choose. I would use the double negative there. That's no, that's right. Can't choose not to participate. Yes, that's fine. So so it means universities cannot say we don't want to be in your ranking. Sometimes universities have tried to do that in the past, and well, they still are in the ranking. If they don't want to participate and they don't want to put information online, then they will get a lower score. So they will come out probably towards the bottom of the ranking. Okay, so having the obligation that all of the assessment is based on publicly available data means that universities they can't not be in the ranking. Okay, give universities a right to reply. Okay, so universities need some to have a say. They need to be able to know their assessment before you make it public. Okay, this is only fair. If you're going to say something about the university in a public arena, then you need to make sure that the university has had an opportunity to say if they disagree with what you're saying, or if you've made a mistake, then there's an opportunity to correct that. So in the University League, we have an appeals window. So we have the assessment, and then we have a part where universities can see our provisional assessments and they can appeal against them. So they can say, you have missed some key information on our website, or they could say, you have incorrectly assessed us on this, and we read it and we say yes or no to their appeal. Okay. Why is this important? Well, it takes away the burden of precision from us. So it means if we publish something and it turns out to be wrong, the universities at least had the opportunity to correct it. If we publish something and the universities have no opportunity to correct, well, then it's our mistake. So it takes away that burden of precision and being 100% correct from us. As I told you, we've got 153 universities, 75 questions. It's a lot of data. Of course, there will be some errors. So the appeals window is very important. It also increases buy-in. So when I talk about buy-in, what I mean is it means that acceptance. Like universities accept our ranking. They respect it. They believe it to be credible. They're more likely to participate in it if they are given access via appeals windows. So get publicity as much as possible. So really think about how you're going to share your data. Like I said, we have a long-running relationship with The Guardian that we're very happy about. It gives us a very wide audience. What platforms will you be able to use? So I think someone else mentioned an environmental agency in Sweden. So that's great. If you can align with another larger, more visible organization, that's a really useful thing. Also, social media is a wonderful free tool, which you can really use to your advantage. It will be more impactful if it is seen widely. Okay, so if more people see the ranking and universities know that people are seeing the ranking, they will care more about their reputation, which means that they will participate more, and they're more likely to want to go up the ranking. When universities want to go up the ranking, they're acting more sustainably. Okay, so that's why it's very impactful to have good publicity. Think about your audience. So who do you want to see it? So universities will see it, but universities might think that the ranking is important because students are seeing it. So really try and make sure that you hit your student audience, but also potential students who are making decisions about where to study. So people who are 16 or 17, this is a very, very important audience to try and reach as well. This makes it more impactful if universities know that people who are making decisions about where to study are seeing the ranking. Involve students. I mean, why not? It makes sense. Who is better to assess the sustainability of a university than students themselves, who interact with a university on a daily basis, are the key stakeholders. So as I said before, remote working enables mass participation. So, instead of having, say, a few volunteers of people who are your friends at your university, why not advertise on some platform to all students in your country? And why not have a training day and say, everyone please attend this Zoom session, or you can even film it and then upload it to YouTube so that people can do training asynchronously. And then allow students from the whole country to take part in this assessment, really widen the participation as much as possible. As many students are looking for a bridge between university and work, and this can be that. And we're very pleased that many of the people who volunteered with us this summer have already asked us for references because they found work that was related to, in some way, the work they did for us, if that's research or if that's a specific area of sustainability. And yeah, this is my chance to say thank you as well to Isha, who volunteered with us this summer as well. So thank you very much. Yes, I've already said that. Okay, so my final point then is be radical and be ambitious, okay? If you're not going to be, then who will? So I'm just going to give you a couple of points here about ethical investment and ethical careers in recruitment. I was very pleased to hear the Swedish group mentioning ethical investment. This is a big success story for us. So in 2015, we launched a campaign asking universities to divest, to remove their investments from the fossil fuel industry. And at that moment, there were no universities who would divest. Sorry, I tell a lie. The first one was in 2015. That's correct. We're here in 2022. We've got over 100, okay, of 153 universities, okay? So in 2015, that was considered a radical idea. That was considered, universities will not divest their funds from the fossil fuel industry. They make too much money from it. And we are here today with 100 universities divested. So be radical, be ambitious, ask for things that you think might be a little bit crazy, because you never know what can happen. You have a lot of power. Universities listen to you, okay? If you are organized, if you are working in the right way, you can make a lot happen. And then also another example, ethical careers in recruitment. We launched this in March of this year, excuse me. Again, so we're asking universities to cut association in terms of their sending graduates to work, in terms of recruitment. And we're already getting universities who are making this declaration. And we're sure that this is going to go and be another ethical investment that in 5-10 years' time, it's going to be commonplace that universities do not work for the fossil fuel industry. So be radical, be ambitious. Why not? Okay, and that's it. So I'll hand over to the next speaker.